Prince Andrew has just asked the most dangerous question in modern monarchy history. If Meghan truly gave birth to Lilibet, why is the most important sentence missing? A line every royal mother included, confirming delivery. Gone. If he's right, the truth behind Lilibet's identity is far more complicated, guarded, and shocking than anyone imagined. This changes everything. Stay with us. Good evening and welcome to Royal Daily Report, where truth has a voice and every story matters. Stay sharp, stay focused. Your update begins now. Tonight, we break down Prince Andrew's explosive question that's sent shockwaves from Buckingham Palace to Montecito, and the anomalies in Lilibet's birth announcement that can't be ignored. Make sure to subscribe to Royal Daily Report right now and smash that like button for this shocking investigation. Channel name on screen, Royal Daily Report. Let's dive in. Prince Andrew has just asked the most dangerous question in the history of the modern monarchy. A question so bold, so direct, and so impossible to avoid that it sent shockwaves from Buckingham Palace all the way to Montecito. Prince Andrew didn't whisper. He spoke with the calm confidence of a man who has seen enough lies to recognize the moment they start breaking apart. He looked straight into the camera, leaned in ever so slightly, and asked, if Meghan truly gave birth to Lilibet, why is the most important sentence missing? A sentence that every royal mother before Meghan proudly included, a sentence that confirms, protects, and legally secures a royal child's place in the line of succession. And yet, it was removed. Hey guys, if Prince Andrew is right, if that missing line was deliberately removed, then the truth behind Lilibet's identity is far more complicated, far more guarded, and far more shocking than anyone ever imagined. This is where the story begins, with one missing sentence and a truth someone desperately tried to hide. And listen, if at any point you feel confused or all of this sounds too unbelievable to be real, stay with me because I'm about to break down one of the biggest reveals of our time, step by step, so clearly and so powerfully that every missing piece will finally click into place. Now, when a royal baby is born, there is a line, just one line, that carries hundreds of years of tradition, duty, and legal certainty. It is simple, it is clear, and it has appeared in royal birth announcements again and again. The Duchess of Sussex was safely delivered of a daughter. But when Meghan Markle announced the birth of Lilibet, that line never appeared. Not once, not even hinted at. Instead, her statement said something very different. We welcomed a daughter. That sounds sweet, but to anyone familiar with royal rules, it is a red flag the size of Buckingham Palace. Because without the phrase safely delivered, there is no confirmation that Meghan actually gave birth. No mention of labor, no mention of doctors, no mention of who was in the room. When someone avoids saying something that simple, that expected, and that necessary, you must ask why. Why leave out the one sentence that proves everything? And according to Prince Andrew, the reason is frightening. That sentence could trap Meghan legally, publicly, and historically if it were proven untrue. This wasn't an editing choice. It was a shield. And Meghan wasn't the only one hiding behind it. If Meghan's statement was strange, the palace's response was even stranger. Buckingham Palace, one of the most disciplined communications machines on earth, released their own announcement. And what did they write? Not the Duchess of Sussex has delivered a daughter. Not Meghan gave birth to a baby girl. No, they copied Meghan's wording almost exactly. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have welcomed a daughter. For an institution obsessed with precision, this was a quiet earthquake because the palace doesn't follow other people's wording. People follow them. So why did they choose this moment, this birth, to suddenly stop confirming a royal mother's delivery? Sources close to royal protocol say this was not an accident. This was Buckingham Palace protecting itself. If it turned out that Meghan did not give birth, the palace could say, we never said she did. No liability, no legal consequences, no public scandal pinned directly to them. When both sides of a story choose the same vague language, that is not coincidence, that is strategy. Now that the wording is exposed, we must ask what that wording was supposed to protect. Because royal births aren't private events, they are state matters. And for centuries, the rules have been brutally clear. A child enters the line of succession only if the parents are legally married. The child is conceived naturally. The birth is witnessed, certified, and beyond doubt. And most importantly, the child must come from the body of the mother. That last rule is the backbone of the monarchy. Everything else can be debated. This cannot. And yet Archie and Lilibet became the first royal children in history added to the succession list without named doctors, confirmed birthplace, witness statements, delivery details, or even the traditional royal language verifying a mother's physical birth. This is not a small oversight. It is a procedural collapse, one that royal experts say should have stopped the entire process until proof was provided. Instead, everything went forward quietly, quickly, and without a single question allowed. But the questions are coming now, and I will soon show you exactly why. If the missing sentence was the spark, the birth certificate was the explosion. Because when people looked closely at the documents said to belong to Lilibet Diana, something didn't add up. And it wasn't small. It wasn't subtle. It was mathematical, cold, factual, and impossible to explain away with pretty words. In the United States, every birth certificate has a code, a simple set of digits that works like a fingerprint. The first 3 numbers tell you where the baby was born. The state California has one set of codes. Colorado has another. But the certificate connected to Lilibet, it did not carry a California code. It carried a Colorado one. And the moment that discovery was made, everything shifted because birth certificates don't lie. They don't guess. They don't relocate themselves magically across state lines. On top of that, the remaining digits showed something even stranger. Lilibet's certificate numbers suggested she was the over 163,000th child born in that area that year. But the year wasn't even halfway over. You can feel the silence that follows facts like these. The kind of silence where everyone in the room looks at each other, waiting for someone to explain what cannot be explained. If Meghan gave birth in California, as the public storyline insists, then why does the paperwork tell a different story? Why does a royal child's first legal document point to a state she wasn't supposed to be in? Was there a mistake? Was there a switch? Or was this document not what people were told it was? No matter what the truth is. The code exposes one thing with absolute clarity. The official story and the official numbers do not match. And when numbers don't match a royal birth, that is when the real questions begin. But paperwork wasn't the only thing that raised eyebrows. People close to the story noticed another strange detail. One quiet, one easy to miss, but impossible to ignore once you see it. The doctor who allegedly delivered Lilibet closed her practice just 2 weeks after the supposed birth. No interviews, no statements, no follow-ups, no confirmation that she was present, involved, or even connected. She vanished from the professional landscape like someone stepping out of a photograph. Doctors who deliver royal babies don't disappear. They don't walk away from careers at the exact moment their name becomes part of global history. They often become more visible, not less. So again, why here? Why this doctor? Why this moment? Sources familiar with medical record procedures suggest that if a doctor is involved in a highly confidential birth, they may later be advised or encouraged to limit public exposure, but disappearing entirely. That is not standard secrecy. That is someone removing themselves from the narrative entirely. And when the doctor steps away, the paperwork shows anomalies. And the statements avoid the word delivered, a picture starts forming. A picture that does not match the fairy tale version presented to the world. If you want to know the truth about a household, you don't ask the guests. You ask the people who see everything, the staff. And according to a maid who worked inside the Montecito home during the months Meghan was said to be heavily pregnant with Lilibet, the reality inside those walls did not match the story outside them. She says she never saw a baby bump. Not a small one, not a growing one, nothing. She claims Meghan moved normally, dressed normally, and carried out her daily routines without any signs of late-stage pregnancy. No adjustments, no discomfort, no physical changes, nothing that suggested a baby was due within weeks. But the moment that shook her came later. She watched the Netflix documentary and saw Meghan with a dramatic, perfectly shaped pregnancy belly. One, she says she never witnessed once while working inside the home. Her reaction was pure shock, because she believed genuinely that Meghan was not pregnant at that time. She reportedly thought the baby she had seen later was the first child, not a newborn. This wasn't speculation. This wasn't gossip. This was the account of a woman who was there, who watched the daily reality without cameras, without lighting, without press. And her story adds a human layer to a mystery already weighed down by missing sentences, mismatched paperwork, and vanished professionals. Because when the people closest to the truth see nothing, that silence becomes its own kind of evidence. If everything so far had been strange, this next part is where the mystery becomes something far more serious, because it comes from inside Meghan's own family. According to one family member, someone who knew Meghan long before the fame, the palace, and the cameras, she allegedly had a hysterectomy in her early 20s. A hysterectomy is not a small surgery. It is not a rumor that drifts quietly through the air. It is a life-changing medical event that would make pregnancy impossible. The claim was never shouted at reporters or turned into a dramatic scandal. It was mentioned quietly, almost regretfully, as if the truth had been carried for years but never given proper attention. If this family claim is true, then no pregnancy, neither Archie's nor Lilibet's, could have come from Meghan's body, which means the missing sentence suddenly becomes more than suspicious. It becomes essential, because the moment Meghan wrote, the Duchess of Sussex was safely delivered, she would be declaring something that could be proven false with one verified medical record. And that is the kind of detail people protect with silence, with careful wording, and with statements that confirm nothing while giving the illusion of honesty. This is not proof, but it is not small either. It is the kind of claim you cannot ignore when every other piece of the puzzle already sits in shadow. To understand how all of these pieces fit together, we need to step into the world of official language, the world of diplomats, government officials, and palace press teams. In that world, the truth is never just what you say. It's what you say carefully enough that it cannot come back to destroy you. That skill has a name: plausible deniability. And according to former diplomats, the statements surrounding both Archie's and Lilibet's births read exactly like documents designed for legal escape routes. You do not deny, you do not confirm, you choose every word like it is a piece of gold. You remove anything that locks you into a fact you cannot legally defend. When Meghan said, "We welcomed a daughter," she wasn't being poetic. She was removing herself from responsibility. When the palace repeated the same language, they weren't being lazy. They were protecting the crown from being caught in a false statement if anything were later exposed. Nothing in the announcements tied Meghan directly to physically giving birth. Nothing mentioned doctors, witnesses, or a hospital. Everything was written with the softness of smoke, visible but impossible to grab. Diplomats recognize this style instantly. It is how you speak when you know the truth is dangerous. It is how you speak when you need to appear honest without ever confirming a thing. As the questions grew louder, one person decided to push the issue in a way no reporter had dared. They filed a Freedom of Information Act request to confirm whether Archie was born at the Portland hospital. The request was not to reveal private medical records. It was simply to verify that the birth took place where the public had been told it did. The government responded, but not the way anyone expected. They said they were not in the business of delivering babies, and that the information being sought was held not by the hospital, not by the Department of Health, but by Buckingham Palace. And because the palace is not considered a government agency, it is not required to comply with FOIA requests. That means the truth, whatever it is locked behind royal walls, with no legal way to access it. No confirmation, no denial, just silence and a locked door. And when institutions choose silence over clarity, it is usually because the answer behind that door is more explosive than the questions outside of it. At this point, the story stops being about Meghan alone. It becomes a story about the crown, the system, and the rules that were supposed to protect the monarchy from ever facing a situation like this. But now they are facing it. And the final chapter shows why the stakes are far bigger than one family. So here we are at the final point in this story. The point where all threads join into one unavoidable truth. Royal succession is not a game. It is not a trend. It is not a story you can rewrite when it becomes inconvenient. It is a chain, ancient, fragile, and legally bound to certainty. A child can only enter that chain if every single requirement is met without doubt. Birthplace verified. Doctor identified, witness confirmation, a mother who physically delivered the child, and a statement that follows centuries of royal tradition. But for Archie and Lilibet, none of this exists, not one piece. Instead, we have an announcement missing the crucial sentence, a palace copying that omission, a birth certificate with the wrong state code, a doctor who vanished from her profession, a maid who says she never saw a pregnancy, and a family member who claims pregnancy was impossible altogether. This is not a pile of gossip. This is a blueprint of contradictions. And when contradictions pile up in a royal story, history teaches us one thing: the truth is always louder than the silence built to hide it. So now the world stands at a strange crossroads, not angry, not shouting, but quietly watching, waiting for someone somewhere to answer the simplest question ever asked in royal history: who was actually born and from whom? Because the monarchy can survive scandal, it can survive noise, it can survive criticism, but what it cannot survive is uncertainty carved into the line of succession. And tonight, with every missing sentence, every vanished detail, and every unanswered question, that uncertainty is no longer a whisper. It's a shadow crossing the throne. You've been watching Royal Daily Report. Like, share, and subscribe, because informed minds shape a stronger future. What do you think is Prince Andrew's question, the one that finally forces answers? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this report hit hard, subscribe now to Royal Daily Report. Hit the bell for notifications, like this video, and share it with anyone following the real royal story. We'll keep tracking every development and bring you the next update as it breaks. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay critical. Royal Daily Report, signing off. See you next time.